Hey there, I'm Ginny. And I'm Monica. And this is Hitting Her Mark, podcast for women in the arts, actors, filmmakers, artists who are passionately chasing their creative dreams, while juggling the beautiful chaos of caring for the ones you love. We're here to share stories, insights, and inspiration, proving that you can hit your mark without compromising what matters most. So if you're ready to make your creative dreams a reality, let's dive in. Alarica Reichert is an actress who learned how to develop her skills in front of an audience doing gigs as a singer and a musician. She did theater as a child and after a hiatus from acting, realized that her love for performing arts could not be ignored. Alarica now pursues acting and can be spotted in commercials for brands such as Nintendo, Tim Hortons, and the City of Toronto, as well as many short films. Alarica just finished a 12-show run for the musical production Lost Heroes of Oro, which was staged at the Georgian Theatre in Barrie and at the Elgin Theatre in Toronto. Aside from acting, Alarica works as a model and parts model, and has worked with brands such as Mark's Work Warehouse, Shoppers Drug Mart, and Lemonwood. She has walked the runway for the Modern Bride wedding show and for the Matrix hair show. She is also a passionate writer and published author in Chicken Soup for the Soul, and her first short story, The Ship, a love story, has been released on Amazon. All right. Well, Alarica, we're so glad to have you on the podcast. And, we just want to get to know you and your journey. So maybe we just start in the beginning. I was looking at your bio and you were talking about how, the beginning sort of started in singing in church. Do you want to just dive in and let us know, where did it all start for you?
So my dad is a musician and he started playing in church. He learned the guitar when I was maybe around 6 years old. And then up until today, he just continues practicing. And so I saw him go from playing nothing to playing guitar. And, he would get out there and sing. And my dad's the kind of person, he's good on the stage, but I think his favorite stage is just out in public. He'll sing at subway stations and those kind of things that would kind of make me more nervous because it's oh, this is really out there. He's more oh yeah, this is great. You can meet thousands of people a day. And I'm okay, this is your thing. So, but I saw him take that step onto the stage, learn an instrument, sing, and then he would pull us, so me, my sister, my mom, to sing with him, right? So it was we didn't get to hide from being off stage. And my sister, so I have a younger sister and she's a singer, but she sings in church. And so as a kid growing up, I would always harmonize with her, right? She was the voice. I was the harmonizer, right? And then there was a church we went to called Queensway Cathedral. It's now called Church on the Queensway. And they did these large-scale productions for Easter and Christmas and that kind of thing. And so at that time, back in the 90s, they did the Passion Play for Easter. And so I got casted in the role of Lisa, and she kind of narrates the story, but she's in the story as well kind of thing. And she had a crying scene, after Jesus is crucified, this whole thing. I had done a little bit of I'd done some skits and some dances at a church in a smaller kind of capacity before. And I was just interested in doing it. So I did it. I got cast. I was the black granddaughter of a white grandmother. It was completely but they really liked me. And so I remember, I think it would have taken place in March or April. So by February, we were doing the reads, right? Reading through. And I remember in grade school, it just was my heart. I was I will skip anything. I will miss anything because I don't want to not know these lines. I don't want to miss rehearsals. And of course, because it's theater, it's the magic of costumes and music and there was a real donkey and all these things that I was and then makeup and you sit in the chair like an adult and they do your makeup and they put on your mic and then I remember the beginning scene, me and the lady who plays my grandmother and the guy who plays my friend, we would all be sitting in the back and then the music starts and we walk down the center aisle and I was this is my home. I loved it, right? I loved it. And I had a blast. I loved the whole thing. And I remember my dad would be how do you memorize all those lines? Cause it was a thick booklet for the play. He's don't you get nervous? And I was no. I thought, but I didn't know it was a talent. I thought that no one gets nervous. I didn't really, I just thought everyone does this, right? So I'm going to do it. And so that's where I remember specifically the magic of theater, just hit me that I just didn't know that you could pursue it like a career. I thought it was something you do at Easter and then you have to wait next year until you
for Christmas.
Yeah, for Christmas. And then, when you get a chance to do a skit here and there. And so that's what I did. In my late teens, kind of early, like 20s, I wrote a couple skits that were done at churches. And it was just like, honestly, I didn't think about it. It was more like, oh, it's Christmas time, get a skit together. And I was like, I just don't want to do the same old, same old. So I'm like, I'll write a skit for the youth group and put it out there, right? And like, I would direct them. Now, of course, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was directing, I was writing, but then it was just like, get something out for Christmas time now. Like, just that kind of thing. And then, I went to Sheridan College. I went for early childhood education, but we shared the building with the theater program. And I would just sit on the staircase and just watch the theater kids. Like, I didn't even know any of them. I didn't ever talk to any of them, but I would just watch them go, and I passed them doing their dances and their singing and their piano playing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could do that. I want to do that.
Yeah, that's just something magical about theater.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
like,
they're going like, oh my gosh, you guys have the best job.
You get to do this for
I know, right? And I'm like, and I think
so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think at that point, I was just concerned because of course it's not a linear path, right? So it's like, okay, you graduate and you do what? I had no idea. How am I going to pay for rent? It didn't work. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I can't do it. But I feel like sometimes I regret it. Like, I wish I had just switched programs and what the heck. I was young, of course, at the time. Like, I still am young, but at the time, at any age, you always think you have all these massive responsibilities or these reasons why you can't. And I didn't go for it. In some ways, I don't regret it because I think it just depends on the kind of teacher you have. I've heard from actors sometimes a teacher kind of cramped their uniqueness, and then sometimes you have the teachers who expand it, right? So,
and honestly, there's no linear path into the profession. I feel like if you talk to many actors, like there's so many different ways in, or performers in general. That's why I find this so interesting, is like everyone's path is different.
Right.
And your path is yours, and how you find your way in is yours, right?
And your output becomes different.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You could all read for the same role and it would be so different.
Yeah.
Same words, same actions, but so different.
That's true. That's absolutely true. So after doing that, I did the ECE thing for like 7 years. It was fine. I'm like, this is paying the bills, right? And it wasn't terrible. I worked with children, so it's not like, what a terrible job. It was great. But it's just like, I knew, okay, this is not really the thing that makes me come alive. I was a musician at church, so I knew I liked the stage. The stage sometimes to me felt like the safest place when things were happening off stage. I knew I could go on stage, I can play this key, I can look at the band, and we can jam. This, for me, was no one could bother me here because the music has started, the program has started, whatever, safest spot for me, right? And I knew how to handle a crowd and like the change of atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. And so it wasn't until after I had my son that my husband was like, why don't you try to get him into modeling? Because he's really cute. And so, not to brag, but,
right.
But at 3 months, I had contacted a couple of modeling agencies to see if they would represent him. And so one got back to me and they said they don't represent him. They don't represent children that young. But then the guy asked me if I would like to model. And I was like, yeah, I would love to model. And then he was like, there's commercials and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, wow. But even still at that moment, I was excited. Wow, this is like a dream. I was like, oh, I would love to. But I was still, I don't know, I think just apprehensive and where am I getting the money for the photo shoot? Those kind of things. So I was on mat leave, right? And so my dad ended up giving me money just as a gift. My dad, like, he's just kind of like, hey, it's your money, so whatever. And my husband, I asked him and he's like, yeah, go for it. Now looking back, I'm like, I don't know what my excuse was, and so then I started trying it. Yeah. And so I did, audition. So the first audition I did was for some kind of medical thing, and I got put on hold, which I thought was a booking. So when they're like, "Oh, you're on hold, the client loves you," I was like, "Great! Oh my gosh, wow, my first job!" Da, da, da. And then I think by the time I got home, they're like, "Oh, you've been released," and I was like, "What do you even mean?" Like, I was like, "What's released?" Yeah, I'm like, I went and checked my agenda. I'm ready to go. What do you mean? Exactly, right? I'm like, isn't that like a sure thing? And so the agent was like, no, you can be put on hold. They can decide which actor they want to go with. And they want someone else. But inside of me, it kicked in my competitive drive because I'm an athlete, right? I've done sports. So I have a natural, it's a competition. Okay, let's go, right?
But it's also like, it was validation. Early validation.
That's true.
Right? Like, moment, sometimes that's all you need is that little bit of, I see you, and it's a yes. and it just sort of drive. That's sometimes all you
Yeah.
need that just drive you to keep
That's
going.
true.
I love
You're
that.
absolutely right.
And so early on,
I know.
too. Like, it's your very first one.
And I didn't even know the stats or the amount of auditions that actors do. I had no clue, right? I had only had the theater experiences and the smaller things before. So I didn't realize the amount of times you put yourself out there. I had no clue. And so then I think for the next 6 months where I was auditioning, it was, here and there because I hadn't booked yet. My agents weren't working super hard. And then I think I started submitting myself. And my first big booking was with Nintendo, and it was a self-submission. I didn't even understand when they were like, oh, you booked. I thought, okay, this is not the real Nintendo. This is some bootleg Nintendo.
Fake Nintendo.
And then I saw the money they're paying. I was like, wow, that's really good.
Like this real Nintendo.
That was my first big commercial booking. Got, I think, like a hair show, which was a non-paid gig, but they did give us this beautiful bag of products at the end that I still use that bag to this day. So that bag has lasted 2.5 years, being lugged to Toronto and all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it works out. But that was my first, it was like a runway hair show, and I was really excited for it. I was almost a year postpartum. Postpartum, seeing my body change like that for the first time and being picked for a runway thing, for me, it was like affirming, like, you're beautiful, because it was playing in my head a lot, kind of like, okay, the sizes are not the sizes that they used to be, and when are they ever going to go back down again, and all that kind of stuff. And so I got to do it, and it was this really creative, wild, kind of wacky hair runway thing. But I remember walking onto the stage, and again, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm home. Hello, people. And I just had so much fun. The crowd was great. It was like a fun, kind of very creative sphere. And so it was just another thing where I felt like, okay, this is my thing. Let's just pursue it. So I did that. Then I got a hospital shoot in Barrie, which was the first time walking onto a film set. And it was a very small role. And that's the first time I saw the amount of crew behind a camera. And then I booked the Nintendo. And then walking onto that film set, I felt more comfortable. I knew, okay, there's a lot of people behind the camera. There's a lot of things, just do your lines. It was a full day of shooting. There was, all the movie trucks, the trailers, the craft, the food. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And actually, at that
I feel like that's a very like pivotal thing for like actors when they're like to write. But don't you always? It's like
yes,
and gummy bears and like
this is what it's about. And so,
Like, do you want breakfast?
I know, right?
Breakfast is hot and ready.
Yeah.
You're like, I mean, I already ate, but yeah.
I'll do it again. Thank you so much. And you know what? At that time, I had an inkling that I was pregnant. So I was pregnant with my daughter. So I was eating consistently. And they're like, wow, you could put it down. I'm like, I know, right? And so, and so that was great. And so from there, I started showing probably a couple months after. So there was a bit of a, not like on purpose hiatus. I was still auditioning and stuff, but as I was getting more, like as I was growing bigger with my daughter, the roles were, very like few and far in between. So I went back to work. So I worked at a condo management company, and I did that for 4 months, basically to get mat leave. And then I went on mat leave, right? And then that second mat leave is when I was, I'm going to pursue this full time, and I'll figure it out as I go. And financially, my husband has been very helpful because he's paying a lot of the things. I'm bringing in a good amount of money. Of course, I would like it to be more. So I'm always striving to get more stable financially on my end. But things have been opening up. And so this year was the first time I had like a theater booking with The Lost Heroes of Oro, which is a musical production. And that was staged. Which, okay, honestly, I had no clue about the Elgin Theater. I'm embarrassed to say, but I had no clue about theater. Like walking down the street with the Mirvish Theaters, no idea.
What a dream.
Yeah, right? Until I was in it, and I'm, oh my goodness, and one of my favorite things about being at the Elgin was walking back, to the back door and being able to go in the back door and be like, I work here. I
love your behind the scenes footage on your Instagram. I was going through your Instagram and I was like, oh my, I love, because you really it feels like you're really embracing the whole experience. And you get a shot of you on this. You got to get that shot where you're on the stage.
I do, because seriously, everyone else was doing it. I didn't realize until I looked at everybody else's IG and I was like, I didn't get that. I just we dressed up and I ran to the back and went back into costume. And I'm like, why didn't I just do a legit shot?
So, you need to go back and be like, I need one of these.
Yeah, be like, please and thank you. Okay.
So how was that experience being on that stage?
Amazing. Firstly, loved the director, Alenka Angelova. She was wonderful. She's very accommodating for me and my children. When we did the Barrie the Barry performances at the Georgian Theater, my kids were able to come to the hotel with me and my mom. So that was so great. And then, the cast got to see the kids and all the fun stuff. And then being at the Elgin, when we first walked in, so one of the guys who worked there kind of took us on a tour, like an impromptu tour. He took the whole cast. We saw the Winter Garden Theater, which took my breath away. And I'm like, this is where we're performing. This is great. It's beautiful. Then we saw the Elgin Theater and I was like, are you kidding me? Theater doesn't scare me, but it was just like the magnitude of like the beauty of the building, the historical significance of it, the people who have performed on that stage, just all the things that I'm just like, how am I even here right now? Right. And, so then when we got to walk onto the stage, of course, it's just magic. And then being able to practice. I loved all the rehearsals. I loved the train rides in, everything, listening to the music, getting the accent right, doing the dance, everything from top to bottom. To me was magic. I feel like with acting, it doesn't matter what else is happening. You get into your role, your character, and that's it. And so for me, sometimes it felt like a breather from like stuff in regular life. I was in the chorale, so I did a lot of singing, I sing, but I had not sang like that. So this is the way I am, right? I do sponge work, which is basically I just sponge from everybody around me, right? So one of the girls, she was an opera singer. So I would just watch how she practiced and I would just take what she does and take her advice. And another girl, her name was Jenna. She does singing. That's her main thing that she went to school for. So I just took all the things that I could learn from other actors and put them into my routine. So doing vocal trills, doing the warm-ups, things that I've done warm-ups before, but not to this degree where it's like, I have to do the warm-up or my voice won't make it through a performance.
Right. Yeah.
And so all those things, and I, noticing, sorry, can you give me 1 second? Okay. I don't know how to say this because, gosh, okay. I'm going to have to bring my kids in. It's okay. Is it okay if I bring them in? You all right? Okay. So sorry. Give me 5 minutes. I'll see if they'll sit with me and we'll move on from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah,
It's literally what this podcast is about.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
But just to pick up where we were.
we have a guest.
We have a guest on. This is Ayana Leona. She can't really hear us. And here comes my son.
Joining us on this podcast. And this is exactly what this podcast is about, which is...
She's still doing it.
Still doing it.
Still making it work.
Thank you.
Do you manage when these things happen? It seems like you have a really positive attitude. You kind of go with it, but on your Instagram too, sometimes childcare.
Yes.
So how do you find this business, navigating this business with kids?
Okay. Good questions. Definitely by the grace of God, because I pray a lot and I ask him for grace, which he gives me. And I also know that no matter what's happening, oftentimes these things are kind of like, okay, childcare doesn't fall through a lot, but there has been times when I'm like, I've asked certain people, like, can you cover? And they're like, yes. And then, day of, oh, I can't. And it's like, okay. So I know that in that moment, even though it stresses me, I don't want that stress to be on them. So the Instagram post I had was, they came with me to the Elgin Theater for a rehearsal because that day, childcare didn't work out. And I couldn't be like, get up, rush, we have to make the train. It was like, we're going to have a fun day. We're going on the train. We're going on the subway. We're going to meet a whole bunch of new people. And it's going to be great. And I find that as long as I have that positivity, they just eat it up. And also, thank God, I find for my kids, they're very adaptable. I think probably because they have to be at this point. So they don't really have a choice, but they're very adaptable and they like meeting new people. So going to the Elgin and going to the Barry Theater and like being at the hotel, to them is like a whole new adventure. And they're great with other people, seeing other people and being around people. My son was like, oh, theater. So that's how I work through it. As far as the business with the industry, I mean, there are the challenges of like, the auditions. So I'm in Kitchener and, all the auditions, or I should say most of them are in Toronto. So even if it's just like, a 5-minute audition, getting there and getting back can sometimes be like 4 hours, like 2 hours each way if you hit traffic. So those times,
the theater is always in person.
Yes,
right?
theaters is always in person. And then for like, the film and commercials, even though, your initial self-tape most of the times and then the in-person. So that's sometimes challenging because the commute is long. And normally when I get home, it's like, get home, you're right back in motherhood, mother mode. You're needed right away. And it's a lot. So what I try to do is I use the commute as a time to like decompress or to get into character. And I've told the people around me, like, if you're going to call me, if it's not an emergency, don't call me kind of thing. If I'm trying to get into character, because that's the time I have to get really into the role and really into the audition headspace and that kind of thing. And then sometimes when I'm driving, it's also, I'm listening to nothing. That's my quiet time.
That's so funny. I feel the same way. I feel like driving time, I like driving because it's like, why is that?
Because it's just you.
It's our only alone time.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's you exactly. That's exactly what it is. Because when you come home, everybody needs you. That's something that I did not realize. I didn't realize getting married. I didn't realize becoming a mom how much you're
independent.
Yeah, my gosh, it's like your name. Alarica. I'm like, oh my, like T.O. Like, can I?
Yeah. And the kids act completely differently with you than
other people.
With any other character.
Yes, that's exactly right. So that's how I navigate through it. And then I'm trying to think, if there's anything else. The agent I have for the acting, the commercials and stuff, he's very cognizant of the fact that I'm a mom and that, when they ask you to come in a rush hour time, he's cognizant of that. So he'll always try to make it work at a time that works for me, which I'm so thankful for.
Great.
Yeah. Cause it's nice when you feel seen by your agent too, right? You're not just, go here, run there, run. And it's like, okay, I have a life too. And
yeah, you need an agent that's going to fight
yes,
for you.
exactly. And who's going to also understand that everything, for us, everything, there's also the childcare cost or the childcare scheduling. That's always has to be done and no one else is doing it. So we got to do it, right? So, yeah.
And in some ways, like self-tapes have really actually
helped. They've helped me a big lot.
Oh,
yeah.
Like the idea of having to like drive and then park for, like you said, 5 or 10 minute audition. And then if it's in the hours of dinner time or whatever, it's gotten much easier in that respect. I think, I think a lot of parents will say they might prefer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I say too.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And because it's hard to plan because sometimes it's 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's hours.
And other times you're just like, why am I still here? What is happening?
That's so true. That's so true. Because I remember one that they were running late. They didn't tell anybody. It was like hours. And I felt at that time I had childcare was covered, but I saw parents walk in with their kids. I'm like, what are they going to do for an hour? Just like, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot asking a child to sit down for an hour and just wait. It's a lot. And then, perform. So I felt for those parents. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Cause I can just imagine what it's like.
Yeah. Are your kids performing now or mom or anything like that?
My daughter got her first shoot with Joe Fresh. Yeah, she did it last year was it December? I don't know if you can see, she just waved. So now she's out in, wherever Joe Fresh is. And for her, it was like, she just went and they had a child wrangler. I guess that's what they're called. And so she was playing with bubbles. And so she just went into play as far as she was concerned. She was in a really nice dress. But yeah, you.
Yes.
But she did so great. And then my son, he's done a couple of auditions. He hasn't booked yet, but it's okay. Like I kind of, I'm trying to gauge to see if he really likes it, if it's something he wants to do. So sometimes for auditions, he's into it. Sometimes he's not. And so I just kind of follow. Yeah. But he's done some callbacks. I think he did 2 in-person callbacks and he did a good job, which I was really happy with because I know it's, a bunch of strangers who are asking you to do something.
Do you go in with him?
Yes, I go in with him. So for both of them, I was the parent acting with him. So that was nice too. He wasn't with like a stranger acting with, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
So Alarica, you've dipped your toes into so many different performance areas. Like there's done the commercials, you've done acting, modeling, you've done writing. Is there any one of them that sort of, is your plan to continue sort of trying all things, or is there like an area that you really lean into more than others? And what have you learned by doing all of these different spectrums? Have formed the other? Like has modeling helped acting?
I don't want to limit myself right now. I think I love them all. I think acting has helped with modeling because when you go on the stage, when you're on the runway, you kind of go into your actor's mind and be like, okay, I'm angry at so-and-so, or I am like Audrey Hepburn in, whatever. And so you just bring that character to life and then you play with the audience. So I feel like that part of acting has helped my modeling. So then I can be bold when I'm on the runway and bold when I'm in like doing the photo shoots, all those kind of things. Because I feel like, at least to me, good directors, they'll give you kind of like, okay, this is kind of the guideline, and then you're free to do your thing, right? And so there's a level of bravery that has to be there. And I think I've learned that anyway through acting. And so, but I still want to continue to try all things. I feel like there's that I don't know, because there is so much I don't know. And so I'm eager in any role that comes, like if it's an acting thing, if it's film, if it's a commercial, if it's theater, if it's modeling, I'm open to all of them because I love the experience and I've learned something every time. And I've honestly, at least right now, I had a lot of good experiences, not really bad experiences. You know, they come across characters that you're like, okay, you're a little bit different, or like, yeah, but you work through it. And as for writing, so, with writing, I've done story writing, creative writing. I'm releasing my first ebook finally, called The Ship, mid-March, which is like, that's kind of a little bit, for me, writing is like, see into my heart. Acting is not the same, even though it kind of, but I don't know. But writing for me is like, oh my gosh. And I've been putting it off. So, but all of these three elements to me, I love, and I'm leaning into them more and more because I realize, okay, this is the talent I've been given. This is the platform I've been given. There is tons of opportunity and I have to push for it. Like I can't get to the end of my life and say, I don't know because I never tried. I have to be like, I tried it all and I went all the way, And I think for me before I did modeling and before I tried acting, like pursuing it as a career, I was always like, oh, what if maybe I should try it, or what if I tried? But I hadn't actually gone into that direction where now it's like, I'm pursuing it. I'm doing the thing that sets my soul on fire. I am doing this. And I just have to, honestly, I just feel it's a drive on the inside of me. It's like, doesn't matter what happens. I have to go for it. And I have to know that I put my all, I gave it my best. And yeah, so
I love that so much. I love that because I think that that's probably why you've had so much success.
Thank you.
Not only because of the drive, but also because you see it as a
yes, I do
to do it. And there's so many actors out there that I wish that need that, right? Because they're just like, oh, I want it so bad, like, and there's this neediness, and it's like, no, you are.
Yes, that's right, Jenny. You got it. That's exactly. You're absolutely right. Oh, I don't know if you could hear her. She's now singing.
Yes, you are also a gift.
She's like, me too.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Jenny. It's when you know your purpose, it gives you that confidence. Yes, the drive, the motivation, the vision, but yes, knowing on the inside that like, okay, if that role didn't work out, fine, there's another role for me because I'm in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. And that's honestly, I feel that's something that God has given me because I don't think I've had times where, there's been times, I think twice where I was like, when I thought about, I'm, dragging my kids here, there, this, that, all the people who have had to ask to help me out, that sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm turning everyone's world kind of upside down, like for an audition. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like,
right
there, I've had like 2 moments where I've been like, what? But then it's like,
when am I doing this?
Exactly. But then I'm like, no, this is for me. This is for me. Right time, right place. I'm doing it. Right. And I just feel like God gives me that confirmation on the inside that like, it's not going to be a cakewalk, but like you're doing the right thing. So that's what helps me keep going.
That's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
So what has been the most challenging aspect for you about this industry? And if there was something you could change, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, feedback. The lack of it. Honestly, I think of everything. It's hard to go in. You give it your best shot and you get nothing, and maybe you were close. Maybe you weren't close, but it's like, it's hard when it's like nothing. Cause for me, I'm like, I can change whatever. Or even if you say, oh, Alarica, you did something and it didn't look organic. I'll be like, okay. And I'll take that into my next audition and I'll work it. Right. But when it's like silence, you're like, I don't know. Did it come down to like, you wanted like a person of a different race, which is fine, but it's like, I just need to know if that's what it came down to, or longer hair, or did you not like the way I delivered my role? Like those kind of things. So that's the hardest thing for me, hearing nothing back. It's like, okay. And then
right.
You guess.
Especially with like an athletic background, right? You play a game.
Yes.
I lost because I didn't score enough.
Exactly.
Or they scored more, or my defense wasn't as good, right?
Exactly. It's obvious. Like the point difference, it's like, okay, I know I lost. I go back into that back in the room, work out, do whatever I have to do my training. When it's like, when it's nothing, you're like, okay.
But it's so subjective.
Yes, you're right.
And self-tapes, it's like you feel like you're just sending your tape
into the void. Yeah. My God. Honestly, yes. Yeah. So that's the hard part. There are some times when, with some I feel like now, because the agent I have for doing commercials and stuff, he's submitting me a lot. So I feel like, okay, so when I apply for union roles, like, they're coming here and there. I feel like that's right now where I feel like it's in the void, because I'm trying, like, I try hard on all of them, but it's like, okay, well, this is union. Let's try really hard. And sometimes I'm still like, I don't know. That's where it seems hardest. And also, yeah, that's where it seems the hardest for me right now.
Yeah.
It's definitely tough to navigate because there are so many different elements,
Yes.
right? Was I too short? Was I too tall?
Yes.
Was I not the right,
Yeah.
was I Asian enough? Was I not?
I know. I get you, right? Oh my gosh, especially for like, voiceovers where they're like, okay, we want, an African American woman. I'm like, do I not sound black? I don't know if I sound black. I'm not sure if I'm black enough. Voiceover.
Or like every once in a while, they don't do it outright. Like for a while, they were like, can you put on an accent? Like, can you have an Asian accent? So they don't outright ask me anymore. But they'll be like, if they could sound authentic.
Yes, right? And you're like, well, I am. I know.
My name is Ginny Wong.
I know, exactly.
I didn't change it for this reason. Yeah.
I get you. Yeah, so that's the most challenging part for me. It's the guest.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. And it takes time. And even the stepping stones into that union market, like it's all stages, right? It all takes time. But it's amazing. Like, you've accomplished so much in this period of time. Your commercial work is incredible. I was even looking at your runway show and how you pose inspiration, Coco Rocha. That was so cool.
So I follow Coco, right? Because why do I follow her? I saw her on something, and I like the fact that she has her head on her shoulders, right? Because, like, sometimes people get, really big, and sometimes they get a little bit like, but I feel, has her head on her shoulders. She's helping other models.
Canadian.
I didn't even know that. Oh, thank you.
She's Canadian, and her mom is a flight attendant, I think, and I used to work with her.
Oh my gosh. There you go, Jenny. So now look how the connections. Well, thank you for telling me that. That's so cool.
It's the Canadian.
Yes. And she gives on her Instagram, like, of course it's free, and you're getting so much posing tips. Like, she's just letting you know how to walk. And so I just watch it, and she's also brave. You know what I mean? Like, she'll do like the poses of the theatrical. She'll take her time. And I think that's something I'm working on with modeling and with acting, like taking my time, like settle. When they say action, it's like, well, you're going to see me, and I'm going to be relaxed, and I'm going to do my thing. And I'm going to wow you. I'm not going to like race through it and be like, oh, phew, I'm done.
Right.
Right. So
that's the leading lady energy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you will wait
for me. Exactly.
But this is an example of your sponge work, right? Just like what you had said. I love that term, by the way, sponge work. But the idea of, like, you've been, a lot of this has been self-taught. Like, you've just been showing up on set, learning as you go. You didn't necessarily have that formal training at the beginning. And look at how far you've come. What advice would you give to newcomers who are also just kind of starting out and dipping their toe? Would you have any advice for them?
Yes, for sure. I would say for newcomers, be confident in who you are. Number one thing, be confident in who you are. When you get your script, you go through it, you break it down, and then you bring your uniqueness into the role, because somebody's looking for you. There's the times I've walked in and I've been like, oh, I did such a good job. And there's the times I walk in and I'm just being me, and they're like, oh, you got it. And it's like, you're just being you. Someone is looking for you. So definitely be authentic. I would say also have like tough skin in the fact that there's challenges. You're going to overcome them. You're going to be fine. You got to keep going though. You got to keep moving. Don't stop. Don't reason, like, don't talk yourself out of it. You know what I mean? You have what it takes. So don't talk yourself out and say, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not going to be. It's not about that, because everyone who's like ahead of you, they had to keep on going, right? Past the obstacles. So that's what I'd say. If I'm talking to like a mom, I say, go get it. Like, don't let having children be a reason that you don't go for it, because your kids get to see you go for it. They get to see you strive for something that's really big, that's not a linear path, but it's what you love. So I say go for it, and everything will work out. It really will.
Because you're an inspiration to your children.
Thank you so much.
They'll grow up recognizing that, I can do that.
Thank you. And I have to say something too. So I saw this from my mom. So my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, and I think when I was like in my, probably like maybe like tweens, she decided to go back to school for social working, and she took us to class with her because she didn't have childcare, right? So it was like, okay, kids are coming. And so me and my sister would we pretend to like write work and whatever. She just did that. And so I saw her when she had, a dream, like something in her mind, she would go for it. And I never heard her say, oh, I can't do it because of my kids. So I tell her that all the time too, because she's always like, oh my gosh, you're doing it. I'm like, Mom, like I saw you do this, right? When it came to, yeah, so I have to give a shout out to my mom, and she's also like the number one childcare provider after me for my kids is my mother. She is always there. Like it's her, my dad, they'll watch the kids for me. They'll do all the things. They'll do all the things.
Takes a
yes,
village.
It does. It does.
Okay, we're closing off. I think we're coming to that point, right, Jenny?
Yes.
Two kids who are waiting for you. So let's maybe end this with sort of a hitting the mark question. So our question is, what does hitting the mark mean to you? How do you define success in your life? And it can be personally, professionally.
Wow, that's a good question. I think pursuing your purpose, that's success to me. Yeah, that's it. I think pursuing what you're put on this earth, what God created you for, pursuing that unapologetically, that's success. And like, of course, spending time with your kids. But yeah, that's for me.
The given. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything you're saying is so inspirational.
Thank you.
You can make posters out of it.
Thank you so much.
I know. That's perfect there, Jenny. We're going to
quickly, I don't think we really touched on what your book.
Okay. Oh yeah. Thank you so much.
What is it about?
Yes.
Like, you want to summarize?
Absolutely. Yes. So the ship is a romance. It's a historical fiction, and it's an interracial romance. So what I found is like, I like romances, but I found the ones that I like, which I guess they didn't have, as a kid, they didn't have like black characters in them. So I've added in a black character, the main character, because it's taken in the 1900s. It's about, this interracial romance that happens on a ship. And there's that racial tension. There's the fact that she is a servant. There's tension in the house with the family she's working with. And she meets this guy this man who is trying to help her find her worth. And that's the story.
I am very intrigued.
Yes.
And where will we be able to find it?
You'll be able to find it on Amazon.
On Amazon. And what's your Instagram?
So my Instagram is Alarica Reichert, Alarica Reichert.
Okay.
Yes, that's me.
Awesome.
Thank you, Alarica, for being with us.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Jenny. Like, appreciate it over the top. You have no idea. And thank you for allowing my kids to be here. Sorry for the impromptu change of plans, but this is what it is.
We've all done it.
Thank you.
All been there.
Thank you so much. Cute. They said that you're adorable. Yeah. Lika was waving. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Well, that was really great. I mean, Alarica is a force, I have to say. I think it's a perfect example what happened during that interview with her being left with her kids kind of in the final hour during a podcast interview. And did you see how she handled that with such grace? Like, it's just... Anyway, I thought that was brilliant. And I love that we just kept going and how she managed through that. And it's a perfect example of what this podcast is about, juggling, the career stuff while, you got kids. You got to do what you got to do.
And the expectation is still that we're the primary caregivers. So even though she found somebody else, somebody else was supposed to be responsible for the children. But, things happen. And then it's like, well, I gotta go.
Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do?
Kids. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, it was lucky that she was here. Other arrangements, like if she was actually on set, I'm sure it would be different. Mm-hmm. But, she's had to do that multiple times. She's had to take her kids to auditions.
Yes. For rehearsals at the Elgin Theater, she was saying.
Exactly. So, that responsibility still tends to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that I really wanted to highlight, which has come up in a few of our episodes, is how she felt coming back to the industry after having kids and how she was concerned, like her sizes weren't her sizes anymore. And, these hangups that you get, but then and she booked that runway thing and it's, you don't want the external validation to be the only thing that, that validates you, but sometimes it's really nice. It's really nice to get that external validation, and I'm so happy that happened for her, because sometimes it's not that lucky. And then you're in your head, oh, it's because of all of these things. But yeah, so I mean, I feel like that was really inspiring.
Yeah, and I love that she has like a persona, how she approaches her runway modeling. She just tried to emulate different models that were out there, and like she kind of developed like a persona when she was walking on stage, and how she sort of, when she talked about acting and modeling, how that the performance element is involved in both mediums, and I loved that too. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. And she's got this really fun way of making reels when she's on set.
Yeah.
She does all of these like fun reels, and she posts them on Instagram. So if you haven't started following her, do that, because she's got a lot of BTS videos, and it's a really fun.
Yeah, I think this episode's going to be great for a lot of up and coming talent, people who are maybe making the leap into acting, especially after, maybe a life stage like having children, or just starting out as a newcomer. Because she's a non-union talent and she's working her way up. So it's really interesting to hear those sort of stepping stones. So I think it'll be good for a lot of up and coming artists out there.
Yeah, and artists who just don't know, there's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of people that think, oh, if I'm not in the union, like I'm not going to get anything good, or I'm not going to. But she's booking all kinds of great stuff being non-union.
Yeah.
And I think that's really reassuring for a lot of people.
Yeah, and consistently. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Have a good day.
Bye.